At the YouTube right now.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we should be live. We are testing right now, guys. So if you see us and you're like, who are these doofuses and why do they not know they're live right now? Well, because we are, yes, there we are. Boom. Right where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you not seeing it?
Pulling up the YouTube. Doesn't look as though it's pushing through to YouTube yet.
That's where I'm at.
Oh, you're seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then
I
I'm
see
good
it
with
on
that.
the live stream, on like what the live stream was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
there's a
should be
comment. It says it has.
it
So, all right.
has. It has. Okay,
Okay.
here
Then
we
I
go.
guess we're live.
I'm trying something new, guys. Um, I'm playing with, okay, I see it on my, all right, see it on Facebook too. Amazing. Um, so basically what we're doing here is I have a different kind of setup than usual. So that's why we're testing all of this stuff. It will look different in the future. It will look, we'll be starting right at our start time. So anyway, for those of you that don't know either of us, this is probably very strange for you, and you're probably already gone if I'm honest. So
Oh yeah. This has not been a high retention intro.
not in any way, not in any way. All right, well, we're gonna putz around and we're gonna figure it out. I'm Martha Krejci. That's how you pronounce all of those consonants really close together. And this is Henry Sims, and his name is very straightforward. Um, this both of us are in the personal branding space in kind of like different places. We have some overlapping stuff, but Henry and I have been friends for I don't even know how long. I feel like it's been like 5 years.
At
Um,
least.
it's
Yeah.
been a while. And Henry and I always like we have these not often do we have like conversations around marketing and stuff like that. It's not like we talk once a week about it or anything, but whenever we do talk, it goes deep fast. And we always end up head bobbing with each other, like, yeah, me too. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was thinking too. And in this sort of like world of, I don't know, guys, we're in the Wild West right now. Of marketing, of branding, of building your business online. Um, we had a chat a couple weeks ago, and just kind of like in the middle of the chat, we are like, people need to hear these conversations because this is the stuff that's actually like moving the needle right now. So that said, guys, like if you have questions, please just go ahead and um you know, pop them
Yeah.
in wherever you're at. But
And I know
but
we've got some good questions as well that I've saved from people who have sent them in. So we'll be going
amazing.
through those as well. But on the YouTube live stream, the chat has confirmed that there's nothing showing there.
What am
Yeah.
I seeing then?
Showing there. You're seeing it?
Oh yeah, Michelle says I see you. Yeah.
Well, I must be looking
Okay.
at a different link.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
Ooh.
Um
Oh, okay. It's not the link that we scheduled, but it is live on your
oh.
YouTube channel. Okay. Let
Oh.
me grab that link and put it in the chat.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all.
The fun of live.
Yeah. So next time we do this, I can actually schedule it through StreamYard, which is what we're using. Sorry, guys.
All good. We found it. We fixed it. And we're redirecting.
Austria is here.
Okay, cool. We're on board. All solved.
Oh my gosh. You guys are the best. Love that
So
you're
yeah,
here.
we were getting back into the personal branding then, moving ahead. I think the big thing that we were talking about when we were last chatting about personal branding is this is a space that has had a lot of hype for a
Yeah.
while, but even more so, it just keeps trending upward. If you look at the search volume around personal branding as a search query, it just keeps going up. But with that, people think that as it's becoming more popular, as platforms are becoming more saturated, that it becomes more impossible to build a personal brand. And that isn't the case. I think the
Right.
way that we look at personal branding now has been skewed by purely the vanity metrics of social media. And so we think that personal brand means you have to have a million followers.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that doesn't necessarily hurt, doesn't necessarily win either, but a lot of these small quotes again creators and channels, um, influencers, they're the ones that are making really good money because they've got a very specific audience that they serve in a specific way, and they have a strong message that that audience gets on board with, and
Hmm.
they're able to monetize.
Yep.
And so that was, I think, one of the things we found interesting was so many people think that the opportunity to build a personal brand has already passed them by, where actually right now there's a massive opportunity that has represented itself to focus on your personal brand. Maybe there, algorithmically, there probably was a period in which it was nearly impossible to compete with the people who already had an established following. When the algorithms prioritized people who had large followings and showed content from people who had big followings, that was the signal that they knew was like, okay, this is trustworthy content. We'll push it. Now, these platforms have every bit of data you can imagine. And so they're pushing small creators' content and assets to the masses because it has proven to be high quality. And as long as the platform is getting watch time and engagement, it's going to serve it as far as it possibly can until that teeters off. So there's
Yep.
large creators with big followings, big personal brands that are seeing a massive decline in their viewership, and then small channels that are way outperforming those big creators. So there's
Yeah.
actually a huge opportunity right now.
Huge. Not, I mean, not even just from the platform. So there's so much I want to say right now, but not even just from the platforms. I know this is why we have to record these things, because this is where it goes. Because like it's the platforms, yes, 100%. We know that, like, if you're not aware of this, the entire reason that these platforms exist are for ads and to maximize shareholder profits, right? And so it's
Yep.
not about how many celebrities can we make on this platform. It's how long can we keep people on the platform so these ads get seen, essentially, right? And so when we understand that and we know that, then we know how to feed the beast, so to speak. And we can create content that, I mean, right now, I think Facebook monetization of videos won't get monetized if you don't even stay on 5 seconds. So you have to stay on 5 seconds, or you just don't. And you could get a million views on a video. It doesn't matter if they don't stay on 5 seconds or longer, right? So it's that like hooking, bringing them in. So the beginning of our video, don't do that. Is basically how that goes. But then also, like, a lot of my students that I work with, like, we talk, obviously, like affiliate marketing, brand deals, stuff like that. And so the brand deals, the brands are wanting to work with smaller creators because of what you said, because the
Mhm.
trust factor is there. Because when we follow like these people with the big audiences and such, really they're doing a lot of like what's called push marketing, where they will just push a message out Whereas smaller creators are still nimble and they can and do usually care about their audience. And so they'll converse, they'll talk with people, they'll actually build a community. If we were to put a word on what is happening right now and where dollars are going, the word would be community, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think takes us back to kind of the initial questions that we were getting and that maybe would be helpful to start this off with. It's like, what is personal branding or what isn't it? And ultimately, it's your reputation. It's the connection that you create with someone. And so that's why community resonates very well within that. It's if you've got these big faceless companies where it's very transactional, I would argue there's really not much of a brand there. But like in your case, a lot of the audience you've spoken to is you from the past.
Yeah.
And so there's a massive point of connection there of understanding and trust that like you offer services, you benefit people, but they know where you're coming from. They know you understand them. They know you have their best interests. And so that is that brand connection that we're trying to create. No amount of followers that you have creates that. The way that I keep trying to, I feel like this is a very difficult, non tangible subject, personal branding. You know,
Yeah.
if you're looking at ROAS on your ads or you're looking at an actual product of you that you've built, it's a lot easier to see it, feel it, understand it. Personal branding, there's so many variables involved. It's a lot of feeling involved.
Yeah.
But the way that I've broken it down is a formula in that personal brand equals value plus character plus stories and interests. So the value is kind of the first piece that most people don't mess up on. When you go online, when you're marketing and you have a business, the value piece is typically what you talk about 24/7. You know, what services we offer, what you get out of working with us. Maybe you're sharing testimonials. You're positioning the value constantly. So
Yeah.
people kind of know like what you offer and that they can get involved for a particular thing. But then it goes to the personal side more of you offer this thing, but so does this company, so does this person, so does this provider. Why you?
Yeah.
And that's where the next pieces come into play. Character. This is how you carry yourself. It's the tonality in which you deliver. It's the perspectives you have, the way you think, the way you interact. It's how someone feels about you personality wise. Do you feel like the kind of person, the kind of character of person that they resonate with? And for your audience, they do. They know your character. It's probably the most appealing part that brings people in the door into your world.
Yeah.
And then once there's this element of like, okay, I know what they offer, I know how they could potentially help me, I like the vibe, I like the person. Then there's still this last element of kind of inviting them in and creating a connection between the two, which is a combination of what I said, stories and interests. There was a question, we'll actually get to it in a second, of you tell stories and you share your interests because these are areas in which you can relate to someone. So you might see someone and think the work they do is amazing, that they could help you, that you like their demeanor, but maybe there's still this kind of gap of you see them up here and you see yourself down here. And
Mm-hmm.
so how do you approach them? How do you kind of start that relationship of working together? If that person that you look up to, or if you as the personal brand shares things that you're interested in or stories from your past, like for you, your journey of starting your business, growing it so that you could be with your family, your audience relates to that And that's an invite, a way that they can start a conversation with you, a way that they can see themselves in you. And so that point of connection there, that's what invites people in to actually start having conversations and work together. So that's the way that I've been able to break down over the last 9 years of trying to figure out how to break down personal brand. It's that combination of the value that you have, your character, who you are as a person, as a personality, and then those stories and interests that allow people to connect with you and relate to you.
Yeah. I love that. I call those Velcro moments.
Mm.
Um, and I call them Me Too moments for a little bit, and I can't do that anymore. That is not a term that you should be using when trying to help somebody build their business. So you know the Me Too movement? Anyway, so the Velcro moments are essentially uh they're those moments where somebody realizes they are you, and that you essentially are them, right? And
Mhm.
that's those stories, the things that you're talking about, the interests that you have. I have a lot of Velcro moments around avocados, strangely enough, and Golden Girls, and different things that I love, that my people know that I love and they love too. And so, like, we just kind of talk about it and stuff. But
Yep.
there's in those Velcro moments, the reason I define it that way is because, and it sounds a little gross at first, but then we'll get past it. Um, the Velcro is, when you have your little shoes, you're a little kid and you have your shoes and you got your Velcro, right?
Mhm.
If it's just a little bit, and this is the gross part, if the little hairs are connected, like just a little bit, then it's kind of connected, but it can easily be disconnected, right?
Right.
And so the more Velcro moments that you have, the more that the Velcro is actually stuck across, the more loyalty you're actually building with your audience. So the more moments that you have, where they're like, where they maybe, you know, my baby goes to Awana at church, or she just graduated out of it. But I would share like different Awana stories, and I shared like our last night at Awana, and any Awana mom knows, like, oh, we're all kind of like inside, just bawling inside, but we got to keep this strong face for our kid. But then all the moms were like, oh, I remember my kids last night at Awana, like you're able to, and I don't share those stories manipulatively. I don't know if that's a word. But I share those stories in a way for people to see my heart, to see my character, to see what pulls emotion out of me, whether it be joy, fear, pain. It's like when we can look at our emotions, in the sort of like spectrum of emotions that we have. I really suggest to anybody that's watching right now, if whenever you feel something deeply, stop for a second and make a note on your phone. That's where I note everything. But make a note on your phone and think, like, why do I feel this way? What's going on? And you can't always necessarily do this, but try, right? And then be able to write a story about that, because anything that pulls a deep emotion out of you is going to pull a deep emotion out of somebody else, and that's where we meet, is in those spaces. It's never like just kind of who cares, that's the stuff that gets scrolled past. Now, I'm not saying that like our friend Molly has a thing, Brussels sprouts, yes or no, right? It's not that people won't respond to that stuff, right? But it's whenever we have like an emotional hit where somebody's like, I get that, I understand you, then whenever they can say to us, as the I don't know, somebody called me an influencer earlier today, it made me cringe inside. But when they feel emotional connection with us, and we automatically feel it in reciprocity, like there's something that bridges, like what you were talking about earlier. It bridges that gap, it creates room for conversation, it gives them a reason to comment and say, like, oh my gosh, me too. The best comment you can ever get from your people is me too. is, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, me too. That's when you know that the conversation is hitting. That's when you know that like you're meaning something to your people in a way that is going to stand the test of time. That's different than just like selling stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It was talking about connection points and this resonance with your audience. For those of you who don't know me, I've always been a behind the scenes guy. Martha, you said it. I think you said a quiet observer was the language. Like that's very true.
It is.
I'm behind the camera most of the time. I'm learning to get in front of it. But I spent the last 9 years, 7 to 9 years, helping my dad build his personal brand, Steve D. Sims. And it was funny because he's kind of a polar opposite in character to me, which was what was great, yin and yang, working in that. But there were times, especially like very much early on, where he loved, like, he had some really out there sarcasm and some borderline offensive jokes, and you could say politically incorrect in many instances. And early, I'm running ads and we're going over like the content strategy and trying to get it out everywhere. And my concern was always like, no, don't do that. Let's dial that back because I don't want our accounts getting flagged, disabling the ability to run ads, all these kinds of things. And so I erred on the side of caution of like, let's like dumb this down, be a little less offensive, less polarizing is the word. But so quickly I could see how while his jokes and whatnot would offend some people, and yes, we did lose business in certain instances, but at the same time, it was the exact character of his and humor that pulled in his loyal fans that
Yeah.
turned into business.
Yep.
And so there is this point where um we want to try and reach as many people as possible and aim for all these views and stuff, but the risk is that we dilute our message and dilute who we are. And then when we do that, we don't stand out to anyone. And so I got to see that early with working with my dad, that while I was worried about the people that we were offending and losing, very quickly I got to see the people that we were building really strong relationships with and the audience that we built through that. So then it became part of our strategy to highlight that more and to share more jokes. And during COVID, we hosted happy hours, live happy hours
I remember
for a
that.
long time. And part of the theme of it was to come on and share a cheesy joke. And the jokes were gnarly. We had some really sketchy jokes in that, but it was such a great opportunity for the audience to build an even deeper connection. And so that's what you're trying to do with building your personal brand. If you aim to get as many views as possible, you're going to copy other people, you're going to dilute your message, dilute your personality, and it's not actually going to resonate.
Yeah.
Or it's going to stay surface level and no one's going to go any deeper. But if you share your humor, your interests, what makes you you, and like you said, if something happens during the week and you feel a certain way and you want to share that, that is what's going to pull people in and help you develop this brand. So the viewership thing is the one that gets me. We do want to grow our views, but grow it from where you're at. Just like one step at a time, build off of the current average you have, and don't try and shoot for a million plus views or followers right off the bat, because you inevitably will lose what you're all about in trying to aim for that. It just
Yeah.
stack the pieces and grow your audience, whatever that audience size is, so that you don't lose what makes it special, what makes it strong.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you said that. That's wisdom, you guys. Um, you guys know I say this a lot these days because I feel a certain kind of way about AI. I like it for what I like it for. There's good things, um, but AI is knowledge, and those of us with lived experience have wisdom, right? There's knowledge and there's knowing things, and then there's the wisdom that comes like from actual lived experience, and that what you just dropped is straight wisdom.
My
um
favorite quote in relation to that
yeah.
is, I saw someone, I wish I knew the name, but they said, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
Yes, literally. Oh my word. Here's what I want to talk about, because I feel like so many people are kind of tripping over this. One thing first, I always have so much I want to say. Um, is this somebody said this a long time ago. I wish I could credit it. I don't know, but they said, so far as small audiences are concerned, or smaller or growing, let's say
Mhm.
growing audiences, right?
Yeah.
Um, if your audience is, say you have on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, say you have 100 connection or 100 people following you. Um, a lot of people would look at that and say, well, I don't have anybody following me. But then you look at it and you're like, well, that's 100 people. And what happens when, you have a room of 100 people, and you have 100 people literally sitting in the room in front of you? Well, now you get to see what that actually looks like. Hey, can you not in here right now? I'm sorry, this is mom life. Can you not wait for the video to be done? They're gonna play. What were you gonna play? Fortnite, probably. Anyway, sorry. But now the dogs are stuck in here. Anyway, so that was one thing that I was gonna say. I don't even remember the other thing that I was gonna say at this point. Um, I don't know. I don't know. You saved me.
That's
I'm
fine. Well, we do have, I want to make sure we get to some of the questions,
good.
because we are halfway through. So there was, let's see, I've been saving some of these to the side. Also, I saw some comments. Michelle, her Velcro, or am I reading that? Yeah, is Jesus, coffee, loving people, and sweet treats.
Sweet treats.
Yeah, I actually, I had a client, and she was in the financial industry, and so all of her previous coaches had said about, ultimately blending in. You're in the financial industry, your color and identity needs to be green because green's the color of money. Blend in and like not be too polarizing in any way, because you have to be professional within this industry. And after we worked with her and rebranded, one, she loved the color red. So we pushed that absolutely
I know who
everywhere.
you're talking about.
Yeah. See,
Love.
it stands out once that happens. But
Yep.
we pushed the color red. And then rather than working in some kind of, suit and tie and being in a cubicle, she loves working on the couch, snuggled up with her dogs on her laptop. And once we started putting that out there, she secured a six-figure contract right off the bat from someone who was shopping around, trying to figure out who that financial person was for them. And
Wow.
that's what did it. And then she also went a step further. She loves trying different beers, particularly IPAs, and
Yeah.
she's part of this beer club and stuff. So she shared that and started adding that into her content and what she was up to. And those things are what made her stand out in this industry. So, Michelle, you could share some of your sweet treats and show like what the sweet treat of the day is or something. So those are
Yes.
fun little insights. Um,
I love
let's
it.
see. Good Italian coffee. Yeah, yeah. I love coffee. I've got my coffee on right now. I made a cappuccino, so I was ready to go for this.
He
But
messaged me
yes.
right before we came on. The
Yeah.
message was, "Give me 5
Oh, yeah.
minutes. I'm making a coffee. I'll be on."
It's my fuel. Okay, but yes. So let's
Oh,
jump to the
I
first
remember
question.
I remember what I wanted to say real quick. Can I say
Oh,
something
go for it.
or
Yes.
ask you something? Because this is a conversation that I think needs to happen. Um, whenever we're looking at people's expectations of what they should be doing versus what actually matters and is actually will get them good results. It's the should versus like, but
Oh,
really? Um, is
should is a
the
tough
oh
word.
yeah, right.
What are you basing it off of?
Well, don't should all over me, you know what I'm saying? But, there's the people that overproduce or make super produced shorts and things like that, the ones that are actually performing better right now are the ones that are like maybe even not produced at all. Like where it's just kind of like, face to phone, talking, whatever, have captions for whenever they can't, if they're in a place that they can't turn volume on. But what are your thoughts on that?
Everything is kind of proven to work. I've seen content that is the least produced thing you could possibly make and content that is the highest production quality you could possibly make, and I've seen both of them go viral.
Hmm.
So, but it's it's the topic that truly stands out. And
Yeah,
so if you're providing value, the biggest thing that you have to ask, because one of the questions that I did get was, I know I need to be on social media, but I don't know what content to make. How do you come up with ideas?
awesome.
And there's a lot of ideas, and I'm sure you actually have a lot of ideas in your head, but probably you're fighting on like maybe you're doubting whether or not your audience wants to hear it. And that's typically when you don't understand your avatar enough. If you can take the time to go backwards, and the content initiative is great, but if you can take the time to go backwards and think about who you can serve the best, the person that you can make the biggest impact in their life, and then start looking at what are their pains, what are their problems, what have they tried in the past, what are they trying to achieve, and then any idea that pops into your head, just ask, would this benefit them? And if it does, that's the content you make. That's the right content. If it doesn't, but it maybe was something trending, then don't do it.
Yeah.
There's tons of
Right.
ideas out there, but we have to constantly filter those ideas through, does this help the person that I can best help? So that I hope that, there's other things like you can go answerthepublic.com, and that you can put in your industry keywords, and it will show you all of the top searched questions around those keywords. You can get a bunch of ideas from that. If you go look at people who are in your industry and see what videos or topics of theirs are doing well, that can spike inspiration as well. But ultimately, once you've gathered all these ideas, just filter it through that question of like, will this piece of content serve my avatar?
Yeah.
And that's how we figure out the right content to do for our channels.
Yeah. Very, very good. Um, Also, when looking at other people's content to see like what's working in that niche, just be aware there can be money behind some of that content. So you might see a video do really well, but that's because it was pushed out and they put some dollars behind it to push it out. And so it might be something that you don't know that. And so you thought it organically did really well. And so then you recreate it. Maybe you don't have the same
Yeah.
you don't have the same result, what I would look at, because it can still be good even if it was pushed out, obviously. What I would look at is number of views. If it's available for you to see, you just pop over to Reels and see um, number of views versus the engagement on it, right? So if it was just a ton of views that it got but not a lot of engagement, that's not really actually good. So don't just look, okay, this one's got 3 million views, let me see if I can replicate this. You want 3 million views and 400,000, engagement, right? Like that's, if like, just to really be able to crunch the data correctly,
Mhm.
and put your, to have the winning horse, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then also, answer the public, love it. If you don't want to spend the $11 a month, yes, I know how much it is. Yes, I do. But uh, if you
I think
don't
they
want to
have a
spend the
free
11
tier.
bucks a month, there's also an easy way to do it just on Google. Google has all of the data in the entire world. They know what color underwear you put on this morning. Like Google is, they know all the things, right? And you could just go to Google and type in, a couple of the words, couple of the keywords, and then it's people also ask. That's what you're looking for. So you scroll down to people also ask. You're going to get four-ish things under um, that people are literally asking. And then you might be like, that's awesome for 4 ideas, Martha. Well, listen, because what you would do is you would choose one of those things, whatever the thing is that you would want to talk about. Don't choose something that you don't want to talk about, but there's a down arrow and you would click that and it would give you more options, but it's more of the like, right? So if
Mhm.
it's, don't do it for something you don't want to talk about because you're going to mess up the way that it works. But yeah, there's you the for us to know what people are actually looking for, we should not be sitting in a state of blinking cursor on a blank page. There are too many ways for us to actually know what people are searching for. I believe that a lot of people actually just get stuck in paralysis of the
Yeah.
unlimited potential of it all. Honestly, I think it's just, you could do anything and you sit there on your couch with your notebook and your everything and you're like, okay, all right, I could do this and I could do this and I could do this, and you kind of have it all written out and everything, and then you get paralyzed in the doing. It's like the planning is one thing and you get real excited about it, but when it comes to actually doing, it's like, I equate it to um an artist is never really done with their painting. Like they
Mhm.
never, because when you're done, now there's potential judgment. Now is when somebody would say, oh, that's good. Oh, that's bad. Oh, you created this content. Oh, like whatever. That's the stuff that we're afraid of, and so we can quietly have all of these plans and make all of these things, but whenever it comes to like brass tacks, go do it, go be in public, right? That's when people are like, oh, I've got all these things I need to do. I've got all of these, and then we paralyze ourselves with stuff to actually do, when really that's kind of why I brought up just the face to camera, lo-fi, just go do it, because that is going to move you. And I guess the reason, and you're totally right, on both ends of the spectrum, both can be good. I guess my point was, um, don't paralyze yourself by feeling like you have to have something perfect, just have something, just communicate with people. That's really it. I'm going to stop talking. I feel like I just took over.
No, that is great. And Michelle in the comments says, how do you shake it off to move forward? Um, you just lower the barrier to entry. And like Martha said, don't worry about hiring a video editor or learning how to create the video editing or do the video editing yourself. Just get started.
Yeah.
And even if it's just with those first 4 ideas, typically once you start making content, you something else pops to mind. You enter that creative state. And that's a tough one. So you might be out and about and something pops to mind. You see something out in public, something pops to mind. That's why it is helpful, like Martha said, to have a note on your phone where you can keep track of these things. And what I do is I have a Google Sheet. The link to it is actually on. I use an iPhone, so I have a little widget up on the top right corner permanently of my home screen that just has the link to that Google Sheet, so
Nice.
that when something pops to mind, I can click it and I have all my ideas organized within the Google Sheet. And I can just quickly put voice dictation on and I just start talking about the idea, just an overview of it. And then that way, when I go back to the point where I schedule in my week to go back through and start refining ideas and do some recording, I just have to look back at it, see the overview of what I was thinking at that point and what I wanted to create. And then I just go, cool, let's make that video. And I haven't lost it like due to everything else, all the demands of life coming at you the rest of the week. So have a place to document your ideas. That comes over the first hurdle of coming up with ideas. Second, make it really easy to record. So don't put pressure on yourself for really high quality video editing. If you want that, outsource it. It's not hard to find video editors. Even some of the tools are getting really good. Like if you're doing shorts and you just need some captions and some little zoom cuts and whatnot, I absolutely love Submagic. That's one of my favorite shorts editing tools. But CapCut, Captions, all of those, they all work really
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
So you can do that and then just post it. And as you do those few things of documenting your ideas, making it easy to record, and then hitting post, you get in the cycle of it. And it's like building a muscle. And I say that with the deepest understanding for it, because again, I'm the behind the scenes guy. It takes a lot for me to get in front of the camera, and I have to go through all of that. And so that's why I have a permanent setup on my desk so that when it comes recording time, I don't have this resistance of like having to set up all this stuff to be able to hit record. I simply hit record and start making my content. If an idea popped up now, I could open my video recorder, hit record, and go. The microphone's ready, the lights are ready, the camera's ready. It's all there, ready for me to go. Same thing with the camera on your iPhone. That's there in your pocket always. You can be out and about. And if you wanted to shoot your idea there on the spot, you can do so. And then you just chuck it into CapCut or Captions while you continue on with your walk. And now you've got a video shot and edited, and you can get home and post it.
Yeah. That's good. It's
And you're
good.
not going to know anything until you start putting it out there.
That
That's
part.
that's the part that I geek out about. I'm a huge nerd in this space, so I'm always wanting to look at the numbers. And so the tough part is also, as like a former person pursuing engineering, I always want things to be perfect. But in this space, you don't know if it's perfect until you put it out there and it gets tested. So you want to see the more you can put the content out and get it out there, the more feedback you can get, and then the better you can get. So some of these platforms, they want to see that you're in it and that you're committed to it. So it might take a while before the videos start getting some kind of distribution, but then you start getting the numbers to actually see, how do I improve this? And we joked about the like the first 30-second retention of this live stream, but we know what we're looking at when it comes to intro retention, because we've been putting out so much content over the years that we can go into our video analytics and we understand the kind of the benchmarks we're trying to hit on that initial 30-second retention. But you're not going to know that until you put it out there and see what was your intro retention.
Yes.
So there's plenty of ideas out there. Figure out if it truly serves your avatar, that passes the initial filter, and then make it easy on yourself to record and post. That
Yeah.
would be my feedback on how to shake it off and move forward.
Yeah. It's I sort of I just go and I just do, right? Like, and that's that for us to kind of the tearing apart of the but why am I not doing this? And that's all part of the paralysis. It's
Mhm.
all part of it. It's, when you start sort of like beating yourself up and, oh, I said I was going to do this today and then I didn't do it today. That all feeds into that very same paralysis. It's a psychological loop. You just stay in the loop until you address the loop. And then you say, okay, let's do away with this loop. And then we're just going to do something incredibly uncomfortable because the loop is comfortable. It's like the terrifying comfortable. It's, I know I hate this, but I know what it is.
Mhm.
But I'm familiar with this hatred I have of this thing. But whenever the terrifying thing is becoming somebody completely different, quickly. You dynamically change, but you choose that change immediately, right? And so you're like, I'm just tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be somebody completely different. And this is wild. I know that it's wild. I know that there are people out there that are like, I want to change incrementally over time. I want to change a little bit at a time over time. Well, if you want to be successful in 20 years, that's awesome. Then you can play the long game and that's great. I'm just not that person. I'm the person that's like, okay, listen, I know that I have something that can help people. And I know those people are out there literally waiting for me to come and help them. And so I need to figure out how to be able to get in front of them. And if that means getting past myself, I need to figure that out too. And so it's you literally just turn into a different version of yourself. You're just like, okay, tomorrow I am going to do this, this, and this. Don't make the list too long. If what you're stuck on is making a video, then make the video is the only thing on the list. Make that's your only thing to do that day. So listen, if you're going to keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off, and it's the only thing on your list, like you need a chat with yourself. So then you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, so I'm doing this video today, so that's all that I have. Turn everything off, turn all your notifications off, go in do not disturb, phone goes face down. You write down what you're going to do in the video, like you actually work through it. Some people get a little weirded out in the beginning on video. I know I did. If you saw some of my first YouTube videos, I was talking. My voice was a little bit higher. I don't know why I had this high voice, but also like I wouldn't talk that loud. And so I didn't really take up space. Like I didn't really, people couldn't understand my heart and my soul for things because I wasn't really this version of me yet. But this version of me came over time when this version of me felt safe to come out. You know what I'm saying? But that is that whole sort of like, there's this beautiful evolution of us as humans as we're creating content. I feel like creating content might be a bit of a self-development program in and of itself because we become like these different versions of ourselves. But no matter if it's going to be like this, whatever your first video is, it just is. And so something that I did to be able to help myself in the beginning anyway, was I would go on to Zoom and I would have a Zoom meeting with myself. And I would do my video, like what I planned on doing in my video on the Zoom meeting, record it, play it back to just be like, okay, did I get the point across? Or was I a total doofus? Could have been a doofus. But then I could see it and I got used to seeing myself on video. I got used to kind of this. That's the weird thing to get used to because it's very distracting. Like right now, you see me messing with my hair because I'm really annoyed with my hair. But like, that's the thing you have to get used to is seeing yourself doing it, because seeing yourself here is also seeing yourself later. And that's the whole, remember, the artist doesn't ever want to finish the painting because that's when the judgment can come in. That's what those two things are linked. And so being able to see ourselves and be okay with it is going to then make the whole experience of content being put out there so much better, so much easier, right?
Yeah.
So there is that part. But so what I would do is I would start my day. It's the only thing on my list of things to do. I would start my day. I would outline what the video is going to be about, and then just go. If you need to practice it in Zoom, so be it. And then just go. Just freaking do it. Just do it. And it doesn't need to be a live like this. Like right now, if one of us were to fall out of our chair, which I've totally done on a live before, then it's just us. We gotta, no editing that out.
No.
Because we're live. This is the live TV, friends. Just record, just go on your phone and record a video of yourself. It doesn't need to be live. And then look back over it. You have to start. You have to start. So, like, there's not really, I don't believe there's any sort of like, kind of Tony Robbins quick fix to how can I just like make it okay. It's not really making it okay. It's doing it anyway. Like, it's just, you're always going to feel fear and stuff. Do it anyway. Okay. I've talked too
Yeah.
much.
I don't know if any of us really enjoy seeing ourselves very much on camera.
I don't.
And, I just started my YouTube channel up last week, and I am positive that even a month from now, I'll look back, or 2 months from now, and go, "Ugh, that first video could have been way better." It's gonna always develop, but even still, you're so critical of yourself. So, like you said, if you can just get over that first hurdle of hitting record and then put it out there, that's your job. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And you'll continue to develop. And you're entirely right that it is a massive self-development tool. The ability to articulate your thoughts and develop the confidence to do so in a public manner, that's not something that a lot of people do. Even like in school, when you had to go up in front of the class and present, that terrified everyone. And then school ended and most stopped presenting. Most stopped putting themselves out there. They're able to hide in their job. But we are in a time right now where if you can step forward and create visibility, you've got a massive advantage over the rest of the competition in building your career and future proofing your business. So just doing it is one of the best things you could possibly do for yourself.
Yeah. 100%.
There's a small, a shorter question here that was put in the chat, and it's, when developing a personal brand, how do you not share too much about your life? And I like this because we hear a lot of Gary Vee and some others who say document. That's the style of content. But you're the one in control. You don't have to document everything. And just like think about what makes you you, what it is that you do on the regular, and then highlight the pieces that contribute to that and that you're willing to share. The pieces that you're not willing to share, don't. You're in control of it. I don't think I have a lot more to say about that. I share my hobbies. Like, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I'm also a nerd. So I love going out and building RC cars and racing them. I also love going out and racing motorcycles or mountain biking. I'm happy to share that stuff. Yeah, someone mentioned it already earlier. So did you. I'm obsessed with coffee. I have so many different coffee makers, cups for every style of coffee, and that's something that I do. So I share those things. But like, those are the things that I feel are most obvious to my personality and what I do most regularly, and I'm happy to share them. I honestly can't think of any, but if there was something that I wasn't comfortable sharing, I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Nobody's going to know that you're not. Like, it's and nobody's going to care. So like
No one's going to know.
know it or care, right? Like, we live I don't know what it is. It's our culture, man. We live in sort of like, what was that movie where Jim Carrey was being videotaped all the time?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, somebody tell me in the comments. What movie was that? Um, Truman Show. The Truman Show. I feel like all of us feel like we're living in the Truman Show, and we might be. I mean, I don't know, but it's he essentially was just being his whole life was kind of like this big reality show, following him everywhere, and it was a whole, anyways, it's a whole thing. But he was living on a set. Okay, I'm not going to review the movie, but you should watch it if you haven't seen it. You should watch it, but we sort of live in these worlds that feel very heavily documented, but in order to build our brand, it doesn't need to be something that from the moment that you wake up to the moment when you go to bed, every single thing that you do needs to be known by the entire world. I would bore the snot out of my audience if they knew everything that I do, because I am boring and I hardly ever leave my house. I'm just going to say it right now. Like, what in the world? I don't even go anywhere. You just keep seeing my house in different videos, different angles of my house, because I don't go anywhere. But things that you want to keep to yourself. Absolutely keep them to yourself. If they're not, like what Henry said, if they're not relative or relevant to the narrative. So think of your narrative of like what your story is, what is the thing? What is your brand about? What is your story arc? Because we always look at it as a story, right? Everything has a story arc. So what's your story arc? What are your points in your story arc? And what are the things that people are sort of like, your Me Too moments that you're having with people? Make sure you share those things. But aside from that, they don't need to know that we're having hamburgers tonight. Like, we're not, nobody cares. The only thing that's relevant is what helps your people be better at the thing that you help them do. The rest of it is kind of Me Too filler, but it's or Velcro filler. We'll stay off the Me Too stuff. But as long as you come in strong with the thing that you help people do, that's that and that Velcro filler, that's all that matters. It's not some creators, and then I'll finish my sentence here, but some creators, I believe, overshare,
Mhm.
overshare to the point of boredom, like where it's boring for us. And those are the creators that are likely starting to decline, because they're not retaining audience, because they're only creating to be able to make money off of views. So essentially they're documenting everything. So because they know we'll watch it, air quotes, we won't, but because they believe we'll watch it. And so when we watch it, they get dollars from the platforms, right? And so they're creating this sort of like boring content that is just like, we don't even care what you're doing anymore. Or they've jumped the shark completely, and now they're creating content that's all promo content. Now all
Mhm.
they're doing is selling you something on every video, and that ain't it either. Like, it's just they're making massive mistakes here. But don't over document. Gosh, that was the longest way I could possibly say
But
that.
also, again, it's like, does this serve my avatar?
Yeah,
And
right.
a lot of the time, especially if we're trying to grow our audience, one of the things that, well, and we've got next week where we're
Yeah.
talking again, and there's going to be plenty that we spill over into that. Um, but one of the things that annoys me at the moment is inside jokes on social media. And inside jokes are great, but one of the things is, like, if you're trying to grow your audience, you're not allowing someone to enter with an inside joke. And so there's a lot of that I've been seeing pop up, and it creates engagement, but only within your audience. And so that again is like, does this does this serve my avatar? And if your avatar hasn't discovered you yet and they come across this, it doesn't feel welcoming.
No.
And like same thing, if you're starting a YouTube video and you're saying, "Hey, welcome back. This is we spoke about this last week, so now we're going to talk about this." Someone will already disqualify themselves from this video because they might not have seen last week's video. And
Mhm.
so you want everything to be able to welcome somebody in to be able to grow your audience. That actually that might have been like a way aside thought. Um, but yeah, that I got off way off track on that one. Just always think about, is the type of content you're creating serving your audience? And a lot of the time, the blogging, the vlogging, documenting stuff hasn't yet got a thread to it that your audience can latch onto and see the purpose of. It could be entertaining if you've already established some kind of presence online, but if you're trying to grow your audience, it needs to be very clear like what the takeaway from your content is. And so that's why leading with value and sprinkling in your personality allows for someone to see the point of why they're latching onto that content, but then also personally connect to you delivering it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my response to that. But I
Yeah.
do. There's one last question that I want to make sure we address, since he's been so patient about it. He's said, when it comes to having your personal brand photographed, what would be some questions you want the photographer to ask you? So he's a photographer, and he wants
Okay.
to know from our perspective what we would want him to ask us if we were getting new photos done, which is great because I just had a
It's a
photo
very
shoot
smart
last month
question.
and I hate doing photo shoots. I've had photo shoots where it does not feel like me whatsoever.
Yep.
And then this one, I was fortunate in which I approached it a very different way. I reached out to a ton of photographers. I gave them my website. I told them my personality and the vibe that I'm trying to create online. And then from there, we developed a mood board to understand what kind of photos we wanted to take going into it.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be a matter of kind of what's the vibe that you want to create. And then, and even it can be like a scale on 1 to 10 of like how casual versus how professional do you want to be? How how fun do you want to be? The mood, do you want it like super serious? Do you want it super happy? And I think if you had maybe a grading scale of the tone and vibe that you want to create, that would probably be pretty helpful to me. And then if like also it's as a photographer, you know what you're doing. And so I want some of your guidance. So if you were able to look over my website and understand the vibe of me and what I'm putting out there, then that you could help direct me on what might make sense. So my photographer did exactly that. She looked over my website, she looked over my content, and then she drafted a mood board with a bunch of different photographs from other people and other shoots. And she was like, "This is what I think would work." And it was spot on. So I really enjoyed the photo shoot because of that. But it's got to be, I think basically the vibe is what you're trying to achieve. And then as the photographer, I think you got to lead a little bit in helping design that mood board for us.
Yeah. I love that a photographer, that's really good feedback. I love that a photographer is asking this question. I know that you said it too. Like,
Yeah.
this is an important, and we're talking about for brand shoots, correct?
Yeah.
Um,
Like this was all website photos and articles and all of that for me.
yeah, I love that. So, like, some questions, if I were a photographer, which not at all. Um, but if I were a photographer, I would probably, um, I would get immersed in their stuff anyway, like what's available on social anyway. And then ask them, like, if you had you know, if your brand was a baby from, 5 different people that are already out there, like what would be those people, but not just stop it at that. It's the and why. Like, what about their brand do you love? Because I might love Mel Robbins, but I might just love the yellow, I mean, like it's that sort of thing. And then yeah, it's a vibe check. It's a vibe check. It's who are your people? Because really, you need to be able to communicate. They need to be able to communicate you visually to your people. So if they can understand, if they do understand who your people are, like my people, for the most part, moms, home-based businesses, like that's so I don't need to be all stuffy and whatever. Like my hoodies, messy hair, whatever. Like I am the vibe, like this is who we are. And not kind of showing up above your audience, unless your audience is that type where you kind of do need to be above them. But yeah, I think more questions actually need to be about who the audience is, and then like how do you want to, like, what makes you feel good, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I had somebody do a photo shoot. I won't name names, but no, I'm just kidding. I won't. But I I had somebody do a photo shoot, and afterward, I was like, I can't use any of I can't use any of those photos, and I
Yeah.
haven't, because it was just like it was too just too not me. Just too
Mhm.
not me. They made assumptions about, like, what I wanted things to look like, and it just was not it. It was not it. But I love that that person is asking those questions.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good.
awesome. I think if you could create some really great onboarding survey, then
Yeah,
you could provide examples of backdrops of
yeah,
like, "Hey, do you see yourself in this kind of scenery?" And give different backdrop examples or
yeah,
locations for shooting. That already helps with the vibe. Do you want grayscale? Do you want bright color? And start basically giving these options to select, and then you get and like drag grades of like 1 to 10 on certain things. And then, like you said, knowing the audience, if you had a client fill that out, you probably have a really damn good idea as to what the shoot's going to look like.
yeah,
And so, yeah, for me, speaking with the photographer, we were like, I really like minimalistic and also some of these kind of darker, raw materials,
cinematic.
industrial
Yeah,
vibes, I guess, but
okay,
also with a creative flair. So, I see myself as a creative, but I'm also very minimalistic and I like the industrial look. And so we decided upon downtown LA Arts District. There's tons of brick walls, metal beams, all this stuff, but then there's graffiti and there's plants and all different things that we can add in to add that creative flair. So that worked really well for me. And initially it was like, do you want to go to the beach? I'm like, nah, that's not me at all.
huh, huh, I
So
can't even imagine you on the beach.
yeah, you can
That's
find me up in the
wild.
mountains. That's more my vibe.
Would you have, like, your leather jacket on and stuff, like, on
Oh,
the you in a
yeah.
black t-shirt on the
Yeah.
beach?
Yep, it doesn't fit, but downtown LA Arts District does. So, yeah, that's a cool question. Thanks for sharing that question with us.
It is good.
So,
I like
yeah, then, I think probably we'll look if there's something that you feel we didn't get to yet or now has sparked a question that you would like us to continue a conversation on, let us know. I know there's some conversations around AI. So that I think will be really interesting to talk about. So we can get into that as well on the next call. But let us know. And there's absolutely no plan to this whatsoever. So if you have questions, we'll be here. If you don't, I'll go make another coffee.
Ah, that is funny. Well, you guys, thank you for being on. Thanks. This is the first video. You made it through the intro. We did this together. We couldn't do it without you. This has been literally the highlight of my day, Of course, I don't leave the house, but we will be, Henry, are we doing it 2:30 next week, EST?
Yeah, I think so.
Just same bat time, same bat channel?
Yeah, let's do that.
Awesome. Well, so then you guys can, and we'll try to make it easier to actually get on the video, but you know the drill. You guys know how to YouTube. Um,
Yeah.
but you guys have the best one. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week. Put some questions in here on the comments here. If you have them for next week, we will grab them from this comment section for next week. So cool. Any last words, Henry?
Nope. Have a great day. Don't
Awesome.
overthink it. Get out there.
That's right. Get after it. Bye, guys.